Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to Proper Madness. My name is Sabby, and I give a unique perspective on mental health by providing tools, guidance, and knowledge on how we can better understand ourselves, as well as our past and present experiences, and in doing so, we can help heal our mental health. I get to speak with a variety of individuals from around the world as they share their stories from their journey through their mental wellness so that it helps others stand strong and use their voice. Welcome back, everyone. We have Marisa today with us. She is awesome. I found her on the YouTubes. I've been watching her fitness YouTube channel for quite some time, and I am looking forward to having her on today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course.
My name is Marisa, otherwise known as Misfit and Nerdy on the YouTubes and the Instagram. I am a holistic fitness coach and I make holistic fitness content. Holistic fitness being just content about fitness, but from a holistic approach. So not just exercise, but also nutrition, sleep, stress, mindset, mindfulness, spirituality, all of that good stuff. Been doing that for, oh goodness, like 5 years now.
Wow.
I haven't thought about that in a while. That's exciting. And I recently launched Holistic Fitness Labs, which is basically just an offshoot of Misfit and Nerdy, but a more course-based kind of business for holistic fitness things. So,
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
yeah,
That must have
exciting.
been, yeah, when did you launch that?
It's pretty low key for now.
Okay.
Have you seen my reverse dieting course that I was talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, so Holistic Fitness Labs is the company that has reverse dieting. Well, it's all me, but like ultimately, I mean, we can probably get into this, but I don't want to be an influencer forever. So I wanted to create kind of a separate business that could be my same ethos, but not have my face plastered all over it, not have it be dependent on whether or not people find me personally interesting. So I created Holistic Fitness Labs, launched Reverse Dieting 101, which is my course all about how to reverse diet, which is a process of dieting that helps you speed up your metabolism so that you ultimately can lose weight in a healthy, sustainable way, rather than just like crash dieting and constantly rebounding. And I'm ideally launching a fat loss course in January, a healthy, holistic fat loss course in January. And then there'll be a couple other courses and stuff. But yeah, that's what it's about for now.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. I did something similar too, so I get it. I feel like you need to have an actual plan and a career that you want to do outside being an influencer. Because, yeah, I don't like what motivated you to say, hey, you know what, this is what I want to do more than being an influencer.
Yeah, I think I never decided that I wanted to be an influencer. It just kind of happened to me. I had an old YouTube channel way back when, and I've always loved YouTube and loved the culture. And so I started an old YouTube channel, kind of fell out of love with that because I didn't love my content. But then found fitness, started Misfit and Nerdy, and then my fourth video went viral. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm doing YouTube now. So I just kind of fell into it. And even as it started picking up pace and everything, I don't want to say I never took it seriously. I've taken it very seriously, but I never saw it as like a long-term career, just because I am very introverted. Being a YouTuber is very conducive to being an introvert because like you don't have to interact with a lot of people. But at the same time, being in front of lots of people it takes up a large space of your brain. And a lot of times it can be not always a positive space in your brain. And I don't want to have that over my head for the rest of my life. So I wanted something to kind of be a further stepping stone afterwards.
You explained that very well. I understand. Yeah. As a fellow introvert, I understand this. No, I think to put yourself in front of other people all the time, even though they're not physically in front of you, it still takes up a lot of time and energy because you're conscious and you're aware of what your audience is going to respond to and how they take things. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I completely get it. But yeah, so okay. So you explained a little bit that that you just kind of fell into fitness. Like how did that, or not fell into fitness, that you got into fitness and then you started your YouTube channel.
Mhm.
How did you get into the fitness industry and like doing that and adopting that lifestyle for yourself?
Yeah, I was always active as a kid because my parents put me in sports and things, and I think I kind of enjoyed it. But in like middle school and high school, I started focusing more on academics and stopped being as active and stopped enjoying it as much. And then I got to college and I kind of thought my only option for exercise was getting on a treadmill and just doing that for an hour for as hard as I could. And that's not enjoyable. So I didn't do that very frequently. Um, but then one winter, I was procrastinating studying for finals and went down the YouTube rabbit hole, and somehow fell into the female fitness side of
Mm.
YouTube. And I found people like Whitney Simmons and Abby Pollock and just like strong women that were lifting and like talking about lifting being the thing that's like an option. And I had never considered it as an option before. I was like, that's really cool. And at my college, we had a PE requirement. So I had to take some PE classes and I signed up for a weightlifting class after discovering lifting. Absolutely just fell in love with it, felt so strong, felt amazing. And it just kind of spiraled from there. Like, because I loved doing it so much, I wanted to learn as much as I could about it. So I started just like binging on podcasts and audiobooks and stuff and just educating myself as much as possible because I'm the kind of person where if I'm gonna do something, I want to know why I'm doing it. And
Mm.
I like understanding so that I can kind of optimize and just kind of, go where I want to and figure out my path that way. So as I started getting more and more information, I was like, I kind of want to start doing like trials of different ways of working out, different diets and stuff. And that's where I circled back into YouTube because I had done YouTube before. And I was like, this would be a perfect kind of new outlet um, for being creative, making videos, and combining it with
Mm.
my interest in fitness.
I mean, you know a lot. Like anytime, like
I try.
anytime, anytime I watch your videos, I'm like, wow, did she study this? Because this is like, because I too like did the more holistic take on fitness. That's what got me through like some of my roughest times ever, and I
Mhm.
fell in love with lifting weights and eating healthy and how I felt mentally and emotionally. But I never believed in like. Yeah, what's the best word? The non-holistic side of like what some people do. And so I always enjoy your videos because you back it up with research that you've done, the why behind it, and why you do it, and then you show us what you're doing and how it
Mhm.
works and how it can be applied. And it always makes sense. Like I feel like when you explain things, I'm saying, oh, no, that totally makes sense. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely I think getting into fitness the way that I did kind of through social media almost made
Mm.
me very quickly realize how many different camps there are when it comes to fitness ideals and nutrition ideals. And I was exposed to a lot of them kind of all at once. And so I had to figure out for myself how to synthesize all that information and make sense of it all. And so I think that's kind of the intention that I bring to my YouTube channel because there is
Mhm.
like most of those ideologies are valid in a way, but you have to take them all in conversation with each other rather than just saying this is the one right way and then saying
Yeah.
nothing else is right. So yeah, I'm glad that comes across on my channel.
No, yeah, they're all very synergistic to each other. Like the nutrition coach that I had, that like I have had since I don't even know, like when I first got into fitness, and what you would talk about were in line. So that's why,
Oh
again,
wow.
he's an incredibly credible source, and like he's really good at what he does. So I was like, damn, she knows. I
Yeah.
seriously thought you like studied it, like did your master's, like.
One day, maybe. I have been looking at, like, low key looking at a PhD program, but I'm not a big fan of the actual classes, so we'll see if that actually happens. But
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah, that'd be like a whole thing. But if you're passionate about something,
exactly.
yeah. So, okay, so you talked a little bit about your life and like growing up. Was fitness ever your escape through anything that you have been through in your life at all?
Um, it's a good question. Definitely not growing up. Um, I think the only time I can really specifically remember channeling anything more into fitness was when I went through a particularly difficult breakup
Mm.
couple years ago, and I think I just had so much emotion around it that I couldn't, like, usually I'm pretty good at parsing through emotions and sitting with them and figuring it out myself and kind of just processing,
Yeah.
but with that, I think there was just too much all at once to process, and so I had to channel it somewhere, and I channeled it into the gym for a little bit. um, Definitely saw some of my best PRs ever in those couple of weeks, but yeah, no, I other than that, I kind of have done fitness, like done lifting and stuff, just because I love it. And I don't really use it too much as an escape or an outlet for
Mm.
anything else, I think.
That you know of. You never
That
know,
I
you
know
know?
of. Who knows? Maybe I'm all kinds of messed up and I'm just not aware. But I think I manage things in a pretty healthy way.
No, I think that's really good. I think but you always talk about how you feel mentally in your videos. Like what did I watch? Oh, that you're balancing out your hormones. I think you came
Mhm.
off of birth control.
Yeah.
I too recently did. I got off for a year, then got back on
Oh.
for like 2 months, and I was like, this is dumb. And then got back off again like 2 months ago, and I was like, yeah, I can't. I was like, okay, I need to like go do some research.
It can be a
Um,
lot, yeah.
yeah, mentally and emotionally, when I was on it for gosh, 14 years straight, like never took a break.
Oh,
It
wow.
was bad. Yeah,
How
like
old were you when you started it?
16, 17, and I got
Okay.
off when I was 30, so I'm 30, so last year is when I was like, no more.
Wow.
And then I got back on because I started dating again. I was like, maybe I didn't like completely trust my natural body to, track
Mhm.
everything. And then I looked into natural cycles, and I'm gonna do that whole thing. I got my aura ring synced up to it too, which is awesome. Like
Yep.
I don't have to wake up at like 3 in the morning and take my temperature. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, it can be a scary transition and a lot to learn. Not only like scary in the, you could get pregnant easier, not easier, technically it's the same failure rate almost as hormonal birth control, but it's, you have more of a responsibility for it than with
Yeah.
just taking the pill. So it's scary in that sense, but also um just like the process of rebalancing your body after giving yourself artificial hormones for such an extended period of time can also be really scary, because your body's relearning how to do a lot of different things that it hasn't done in a very long time. And especially like a lot of girls who go on birth control at even a younger age, like 13, 14, like before they've even really gone through puberty,
Mm.
start going through puberty after you come off the pill because it's
Dude,
suppressed so much.
no, I think you're onto something because literally I don't know if I'll put the fuck I screw it. But like afterwards I was like, this is weird. I have boobs. I was like, I never I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not known for this, so I don't know what's happening. And so I looked at my mom the other day. I was like, is it just me? It was like, she's like, yeah, you've never had cleavage in your life. I'm like, I know. I was
Yeah,
like, I'm
no,
aware.
it
Yeah.
definitely like suppresses puberty if you start it before you've gone through that process, so that like when you come
Yeah.
off of it, your body still has to go through that process. So
Oh
that
my
makes a lot of
God.
sense.
When you're on something that isn't good for your body and isn't like natural or holistic in any way, it messes with your head
Mhm.
a lot. Like I remember just feeling very numbed out. my emotions weren't very high or weren't very low. They were just weird. I mean, I didn't describe it, but
yeah,
but
I don't feel like I actually, thankfully, got very many side effects from birth control. I was on it for 5 years, I think. And I started when I was 19. So I was thankfully past at least most of puberty in theory. But yeah, I definitely remember coming off of it. And I think I had read, which book was it? Probably the Period Repair Manual. I think, first of all, highly recommend that book in general. But I think she had mentioned in it somewhere what you just said about how it kind of numbs emotion, and how when you come up, like she came off of it and suddenly she was enjoying music again. And I found myself driving down the street, like singing along to music. And I was like, oh, like that's me too. Like I suddenly had so much more, like a higher capacity to just enjoy small things like that, which was just wild that like it had taken that away from me for so long.
Right? I mean, you think, I don't know, there's like a whole I mean, there's like a whole thing of like why doctors prescribe it to fix the issues that you have that then create worse issues down the line, you know what I mean? So it's
Yep.
that's why I'm so big into the holistic factor of everything. I think I don't know, I'm a big believer in like what you put into your body directly affects how you feel, and
Mm-hmm.
all across the board, you know what I mean? So
100%.
when you got into, cleaning up your diet, I'm assuming you were always healthy, but when you go more into the like the nutrition aspect of fitness, do you ever find that it does directly impact your mental well-being? And if so, like how have you noticed the differences, if any?
Um, That's a very good question. I have definitely always eaten relatively healthy. Like my love for health and passion for health was definitely instilled in me by my mom. Um, so I grew up eating salads for dinner, not like sad salads. They were very good salads, but like, lots of vegetables, lots of like lean protein, lots of whole grains, that kind of stuff. Um, so in me transitioning to finding my ideal healthy diet, I don't think there was too much of a shift.
Mm.
Um, I will say, I mean, this is potentially not super helpful, but I have celiac disease. And before I was diagnosed, I was eating gluten because
Mm.
why would you not eat gluten when you're 12 and don't know you have celiac disease? And apparently, according to my mom, I told her that I felt like I was getting stupid. And it
Mm.
was absolutely the brain fog caused by the gluten. So, in that sense, I have absolutely experienced some negative impacts of how food can affect your mental state and stuff. I don't really remember much of that because I was like 10, but I definitely went through that.
Have you seen because you train clients, I'm assuming you have like a ton, right? Do you ever notice like a difference in them when they're
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give an extreme example just because it's one of the best examples. But major caveat, this is absolutely not something I would recommend to most people. This was a very special case. But she came to me with severe depression, lots of anxiety, lots of other health issues, needed to lose weight. And we were kind of on a track to like help her lose weight for a bit, started getting her into resistance training, all that good stuff. And she just had so many issues that were so severe that I ended up having her try the carnivore diet, like
Mm.
literally just eating meat for a month. And she, at the end of the month, we talked about it, and she told me it was the first time she didn't feel like she wanted to die.
Oh
And I
wow.
was like, okay, so we're on to something. Like that, just hearing that from a client was probably one of the most impactful things that I feel like I've ever gotten out of training people. But yeah, in that sense, like just cutting everything out of her diet that would
Mm.
potentially be causing any amount of inflammation or any issues, and just having her like it's again, would not recommend this to most people. This was a very extreme case. But it's like, it's an extreme elimination diet, and you're just taking away anything that might be causing issues to give your body all of the space that it needs to heal. And it started working, which was amazing. So
Oh, wow. No,
yeah,
I'm not.
there's other like smaller examples like that, but that's like,
I think the correlation between inflammation and anxiety, and then like the gut and the brain link, is huge. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like, I was on my platform, I talk all the time. I'm just like, your mental well-being is legitimately circumferencing everything in your life. Like, it's
absolutely
what you eat, it's if you move, it's what you're putting into your body quality, and just everything. And it's interesting. I took a poll one time just to ask my followers. I was like, so how many of you like lead a relatively healthy lifestyle, like with your diet, nutrition? I'd say 50% of them said that they did not. Like, they were just they ate whatever whenever. And then I asked that same poll again, and I was like, all right, of the 50% who don't have a good diet and whatever, how do you feel mentally? I kid you not, all of them. Anxiety, depression,
yep.
like fatigue 24/7. And I was like,
Yeah,
what?
that's where I start with. I mean, any client who comes to me, regardless of if they're dealing with anxiety or depression, I start with just like adding good things into their diet to boost all of that. Cause yeah, like there's not that there's no point in starting a fitness journey, but the basis of a fitness journey is your mindset and kind of how you're able to mentally approach things. And if you are currently mentally approaching the world, that's not a good way to phrase it, but like if you're dealing with anxiety and depression, it's going to be really hard to kind of frame your fitness journey around that. It's easier, not easier, but it makes a lot more sense to start with the foundation being, okay, let's address that and get that kind of in check, and then build up from there rather than trying to build around it. Not, they go so hand in hand that like one is going to address the other in some way, but focusing on that first is always my priority.
I don't know, they totally do. I feel like anytime I have like a day where I'm eating whatever, whenever, it depends though. If I'm refeeding my body, then I feel great. But if I'm not, then like I have anxiety the next day from the sugar, from maybe eating things that I'm intolerant to. A friend of mine did this. She had SIBO. I don't know what that is entirely. I have no idea. But she was put on these shakes that were very low inflammation for about 10 days. Like, dude, you're gonna like starve yourself for 10 days. I can't imagine. And then she reintroduced food yesterday, and she was like, Sabby, I had anxiety and panic attacks out of nowhere. And I was like,
Wow.
I go, yeah, just like what you said. I think it's crazy how even food intolerances can affect us like that, to that level.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's like, elimination diets are usually where I will start for something like that. Like if a client were to come to me and say, I want to lose weight, but I also have depression and anxiety, I would probably say, okay, like let's get you on a gentle movement program, and then we're going to dive in with nutrition. And probably do like, I'll assess their diet, see like what they're eating, and then consider an elimination diet in conjunction with working on sleep and stress as well. But oftentimes the diet really is foundational in kind of helping heal those things.
What was a time in your life where you experienced any sort of adversity, and how did you overcome it? And like, you can tell us a little bit about the story, whatever you feel comfortable about.
I think the most difficult thing that I've ever had to go through was going through topical steroid withdrawal. I don't know if you saw that on my YouTube channel, but
I saw glimpses a long time ago.
This was a couple years ago. When I was little, I had some skin issues, probably because I had undiagnosed celiac disease, so that can definitely happen. And I was prescribed various creams and ointments and things to help treat it, and eventually it kind of escalated into being prescribed topical steroids. which seemed like a miracle cure at the time when I was like, I don't know, 15 and my skin was not doing great. And then there was just this cream I could put on it and it was fine. But none of the doctors told me that you're only supposed to use them for a couple weeks and then stop using them.
Oh
And
no.
so I just used them constantly for about 8 years. And the thing with topical steroids is they're corticosteroids. So they mimic cortisol in the body. So it's like we were talking about with birth control, like you're on it for 5, 10, whatever years. When you come off of it, you go through withdrawal, your body has to relearn how to do things. It was the same with topical steroid withdrawal, except it was cortisol. So when my body eventually grew a tolerance to the steroids, they completely stopped working and it just felt like it was making it worse. So I stopped using them and then I went through withdrawal. And cortisol is a very, very critical hormone in the body. And it basically threw my cortisol completely out of whack and caused all sorts of skin issues. So my skin was just, I ended up being in a lot of pain. My skin was very dry to the point where I would move the tiniest little muscle and I would feel my skin cracking.
Oh
It
no.
was flaking. It was so itchy that I was scratching through my skin and making myself bleed. It was oozy, which was just lovely, very red. I was so swollen that my feet were potato feet. I did not have ankles. I just had just potatoes attached to my legs, which was also incredibly painful because I would go
Yeah.
to sleep and then would wake up and get out of bed, all the blood would rush to my legs and it felt like they were going to explode. I also had severe insomnia because of the cortisol issues and because I was so itchy, I like couldn't sleep. So that was about, it was that bad for probably about 4 to 6 months, and all of it together lasted about a year of decline and then until I was healed. And that was really, really tough
Mhm.
because I went from being this very active person that was very excited to go to the gym and really valued that time, and valued my health so much, to suddenly not having my health, not being able to work out, basically being bedridden, and just constantly being in a ton of pain. Um,
Obviously, like mentally, that is hard,
yeah.
right? Like that's a huge change on yourself, your lifestyle, your body. How are you able to like get through that?
Yeah, couple key things. One, I had a friend who at the time was a nutritional therapy practitioner. She is now not doing that anymore, but she is Christina the channel if anyone wants to hit her up. Um, she kind of took the place of being a, I don't want to call her a healer, but like someone in my life to help me direct my healing
Mhm.
process, which was immensely helpful because I felt so stressed trying to figure it all out myself. And I was like, what if I do something wrong? Like, what if I try this elimination diet and it actually backfires on me? And like, what if I do this and it's wrong? And so it was very helpful to be able to put all of my trust in someone else and just kind of let her take the reins and not have the responsibility for it.
Mm.
And then she also introduced me to the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza, which was
Yeah.
also transformative. Highly recommend. And that my big takeaways from that were basically the placebo effect is real and you can placebo effect yourself. And you can either do that in a positive way or a negative way. And if you choose to believe that you are getting better, you are healing, your body is going to respond as though you're getting better and you're healing. And if you choose to believe that you're doomed and you're dying, then your body is going to respond like you're doomed and you're dying.
Wow.
So I took that to suggest that I should practice gratitude for what I was going through. And so I dug deep and found ways to be grateful for what I was going through and reminded myself of that every day and reminded myself that every day I was healing and I would get better and it would be fine. And yeah, that was kind of that. And then just generally, I don't know how I did it, but like not letting the pain get to me and kind of making light of it, um, kept me from going to the dark side mentally because it would have been really easy to kind of slip into a very negative, depressed mindset
Oh,
about it.
100%. Because like that's pain can impact us in so many ways, right? Mental pain and physical pain. And I think like you have two choices. You either figure out a way to rise above it or let it take you completely over.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think not enough people talk about the fact that your mindset literally dictates how you perceive things, and then how
Yep.
your mental capacity and your ability to feel impacts the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like feeling your feelings is good, and all that, but at the same time, once you're done feeling those feelings, you can't just like live there forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, being able to process through emotions in the sense of feeling them, processing them, and then letting them go is so big. And I've had many clients come to me where I will talk about things and it becomes very clear that they're not processing through emotions well,
Mm.
and they're kind of feeling them and reacting, but then storing the actual emotion because they're not sitting with it and like figuring it out. And that always hands down impacts their health, like physically and mentally. And kind of retraining your brain to be able to let go of emotions as opposed to feel and react can be so transformative for your health.
But yeah, I think reactivity is like the downfall of most of everyone's emotional, I don't say issues, that sounds bad, but but no, I mean yeah, problems, and they're like what they might be going through. I think when we're not in an observatory mode and we're just like in it right in that moment, then we're bound to react in a way that's not conducive to us even understanding it.
Mm-hmm.
um or I've seen people, like one of my newer clients that I just took on, like they don't react at all. Like there's
Hmm.
no reaction. I'm going, so you get one or the other. And not,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, not reacting at all is sometimes worse. It's like you're literally taking it and storing it as well, but in a different way, and harboring it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have no outlet to let it out or let it be free in any way, and it just lives there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Learning how to take something really negative and see the positive and just constantly reinforce the positive. I think it definitely transformed who I am as a person. And so I am genuinely like, I wish I didn't have to go through it, but I'm genuinely grateful that I did
Mm.
because I learned so much and I grew so much. And also, just not mental health wise, but just physical health wise, it did force me to change my lifestyle in a more positive way. Like I felt like I was living a healthy lifestyle before, but I was definitely overworking myself to a
Mm.
very extreme extent. I think that was part of why I developed topical steroid withdrawal, or at least got it as bad as I did, is because for a while leading up to it, I think up until that January, and I ended up starting to go through it in like March or April, I've been working like 80 to 90 hours a week and driving an extra 10
Wow.
hours a week. And I was definitely lacking in the sleep department. And so going through topical steroid withdrawal forced me to slow down and forced me to realize that that lifestyle is not conducive to being healthy long term. And if I had been continuing to do that for the next 5 or 10 years, probably would have ended up with a lot more severe health issues down the line from
Mm.
just like burning myself out. So there were a lot of positive takeaways from it, even though it theoretically would have been completely avoidable if the doctors had just told me how to actually use the medication properly. It is what it is.
No, yeah, I think that's amazing. You know what I mean? I think it's interesting how sometimes the universe will throw stuff at us to make us wake up a little bit and change our
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle. And we kind of only have one choice at that
Yeah.
point. You're like, well, this is all I can do here.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. That's a good story. I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you shared it on your channel, but like it was good to like hear like the whole, like what you learned and how you got through that. So, but what I was going to ask you is, through your following and through your platform that like it's grown so much. It's such a wonderful place. How do you hope to make a difference in your followers' lives?
Ooh. I got into fitness through YouTube and it completely changed my life. not only because I ended up turning it into my business and made it my career, but also because it transformed my lifestyle, and it transformed my relationship with exercise and relationship with health and everything like that. And I get so much value from that. And I'm so grateful that I found this path and was able to start down it and discovered it in the way that I did. And for me, like, that was part of the reason I wanted to start this channel, was if I can impart that to just one other person, like if I can pay that forward, that just excites me so much. And so to be doing this 5 years later and have had so many people tell me that like they feel the same way about me that I felt about the people that I watched that got me into fitness is just the most rewarding thing on the planet. So yeah, I mean, I guess what I hope people get out of my content and take away from my content is ideally, and not necessarily a passion for health. I don't think everyone has to be passionate about health and like do what I do. But at the very least, an interest in it and an understanding of it, and a way forward for them to be able to incorporate it into their lifestyles so that they can live the lives that they want.
If anyone has resonated with your story and anything that you've told, what would be the advice that you would give them?
Diversifying education is really what helped me get to where I am today. And so if someone were to try to pursue kind of anything that I talked about, that is what I would recommend. So by diversifying education, I just mean, as I mentioned at the beginning, there's a lot of different dogma around nutrition and fitness and all of this stuff. And no one person, for the most part, is correct. The correct answer is going to depend on the person. It's going to depend on you. And so it's kind of up to you to educate yourself and synthesize everything through your own perspective and through your own lifestyle and your own relationship with food and with exercise and everything, and find what works best for you. But just trying to blindly follow different dogmas in this space that is where I see people get led astray a lot. And that's when people end up coming to me and hiring me to coach them, to help them get out of whatever hole they dug themselves into, because they were stuck listening to the low carb person for so long that they messed up their hormones, they tanked their metabolism, and now they need to fix everything. Not that low carb is inherently bad, but like for some person, low carb may be bad. Maybe they were just trying the wrong thing. So basically, learn everything about everything and then use that to assess what might work best for you and your body.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This is like such a really informative, awesome talk.
Thank you for having me. It was great to be able to sit down and actually chain multiple sentences together and have a normal style conversation rather than talk to a camera that I plan on editing all the footage from later.
Oh my God, that's fun. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, you have to go through the eye of the storm to see the clear horizon ahead. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next week.